Hello, everybody. It has been such a long time since I've done a movie review. Very excited to do it. Diggy's right here licking my knee, but we'll leave that out of the picture. But yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy Vol.3. It was easily my most hyped up project of the year, not just for the MCU, not just for comic book movies, but just the whole year. Across the Spider-Verse, I'm really excited for it, but I was way more excited for Guardians. So, did I like it? Yeah, I really liked it. And I feel like the moment I walked out of the theater, I just thought about it, like, so much. Like, the ending and, like, just how all the characters had their moments. And it was just, oh my god, it was so good. And honestly, you know me. When the MCU comes out with something that a lot of people collectively agree is good, I'm going to overrate the hell out of it and say that it's one of the greatest MCU movies of all time because I don't want people to think that Marvel is dead. And honestly, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, I'm not overrating it. I think a lot of people will consider this a top 5 MCU movie. I loved it. And here's the thing, the Guardians were always one of my main interests in the MCU. And I was waiting for so long to see them again. And Thor: Love and Thunder, they were in it a little bit, but they weren't in it like enough. I felt like if they were in more in Thor: Love and Thunder, then it could have been a better movie. And also, since I didn't do a review on that film, I'll just give you what I think about it. It's not as bad as everyone says, but it could have been so much better, and it kind of ruins the movie for me, knowing that like Thor 4 could have been like a much better movie. But yeah, let's go into thoughts of the movie. First up, the villain, High Evolutionary. I really, really loved whoever's name's performance in this character because if you look up the guy who played this role, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce his name, but yeah, the High Evolutionary was a great villain. I hated him so much from start to finish. Um, and yeah, I guess that's basically what everyone thinks, though. I mean, like, everything. Like, he was just yelling at everything. Like, Star Lord pointed out one bad thing about New Earth, and he just wanted to destroy the entire planet because there was a flaw in it. And I just found that insane. But yeah, High Evolutionary was a great villain. I love the makeup designs. But yeah, and people saying he's better than Kang. I don't know. Definitely more like hateable than King, but I'm not sure. And also Jonathan Majors with the whole lawsuit and stuff. I think he's probably innocent because he just doesn't seem like a bad person, but that's a story for possibly another video. Either way, though, the guy who played High Evolutionary knocked it out of the park. He did a great job, and I like that James Gunn is giving like actors that we don't know that much about roles in films, like Palm Clemente, or however the fuck you say her name. Like I don't think she was in that many movies, and he kind of gave her a chance. And she was even in the Suicide Squad too. And but yeah, High Evolutionary was a great villain. And of course, we got to talk about Rocket's backstory. Um, my God, this is the part that I was so scared for. We'll go over all the characters, and we'll start with Rocket. The backstory was great, and I'm just glad that we got to see this, because I mean that was a question like what happened to Rocket? Because I didn't read the comics. I don't really know what happened. So yeah, this was very traumatizing. Some of the stuff that happens. And yeah, so basically what happens is that he's created. His name is Subject 89P13, which is like something that I will never get out of my brain because it's so like memorable of a name. 89P13, and he's part of Batch 89, and he thinks that they are going to be the ones that go to New Earth, but instead it's Batch 90, and the way he figures that out, High Evolutionary tells him and basically just calls him an idiot for not believing in that. And the reason why High Evolutionary is mad at him is because he, is basically smarter than him, and High Evolutionary made him, so that's, it's weird, But yeah, Rocket meets some friends along the way, and their names are Teefs, Lila, and Floor. And my God, they are just so precious. You've got a rabbit, a walrus, and a sea otter, I'm pretty sure. And they are just the best. They're such a great team. And it really just makes you see Rocket's whole perspective in a different light after watching this film. But yeah, so basically what happens is that once Rocket finds out that Batch 89 is going to be the ones that are getting incinerated, he tries to break them out, and High Evolutionary already knows that he's going to try and do that, so he shoots Lila in the back. And hearing Rocket cry was so sad. He goes, "Ah!" Like, he was so sad. And it's also, it hits more when you realize that Bradley Cooper watched the movie early on, and he said that he even cried from it, and that's saying something, you know. Bradley Cooper's hard to crack. But, and then after that, you know, High Evolutionary mocks him for crying that much. He's like, "You win the crying contest," and then Rocket just goes ape shit on him. He just claws his face so much, and the reason why he's got a mask later on in the movie in the future is because of that. And my God, it is just terrifying. And then after that, I don't exactly know how Teefs and Floor die, but I think they might have gotten shot by the guards that were trying to kill Rocket. And yeah, it's really bad. And then he escapes out of a ship, and then the rest is history. That was his backstory. And I really like that they wrapped up his backstory in time for him to come back to life. Yeah, Rocket was great in this. And I like that he called himself Rocket Raccoon, like truly expressing that he really is that animal. And seeing him when he was just a little baby was so sad. Like the beginning with the transition from Rocket as a baby to him as an adult was just like, oh my God. I knew it was going to tear me up already. And Creep by Radiohead was playing in the background. And also, I'd like to mention the soundtrack for this movie is great. I've been listening to a lot of tracks from it, like on repeat. Creep, of course. Since You've Been Gone is great. The one that they played in the trailer. Another one, what's it called? Oh my God, it's by Space Hog. It's called In the Meantime. Yeah, In the Meantime is a great track. That plays when they're like floating in space. Do You Realize is also pretty emotional. And of course, Dog Days Are Over. That's a great track. I love the way they ended it with that. Okay, bud, you want to leave? You want to go somewhere else? Mwah. You gonna ditch me? Alright, well, he's leaving. Anyway, but yeah, the soundtrack is great. Pretty awesome. Back to the movie. We'll go on to Drax. Drax was great in this. He was easily the comic relief of it all. And him saying goodbye to Mantis, I love that part because you realize you're messing up my shot, Diggy. Why are you... Anyways, but yeah, Drax was great, and, you know, when he said goodbye to Mantis, you could tell he was holding in some tears, but I saw a few come out. And at the end where he dances to Dog Days Are Over, it truly embraces that even though his name's Drax the Destroyer, he can still have a little fun. And when Nebula called him a dad, that just hit me hard. I thought that was awesome. Because you got to take into account that he did lose his wife and children. I feel like that's something that's not really talked about enough. But yeah, Drax was great in this. I loved it when he like threw Adam Warlock. That was awesome. And speaking of which, Adam Warlock was also great in this. I see a lot of people saying that he was underused, but he wasn't ever meant to be the main villain of the film. I mean, I thought he was going to be, but that was High Evolutionary. And you know, Adam Warlock was great in this film, and I am so happy that he'll be back in the MCU and he survived this movie because like I think he has a lot of potential and he's super powerful, obviously. And yeah, Adam Warlock is great, and I'm glad that they actually gave us like they actually gave a payoff to that post-credit scene in Guardians 2. But yeah, Adam Warlock was great, and I look forward to seeing him in the future. And then there's Mantis. She was also great. I like that in the end she's trying to go her own way because she's always been bossed around by Ego or the Guardians, and now she finally gets to do her own thing. And I like when Drax says that he'll come with her, and she's like, "That's exactly the point. I don't want you around." That was awesome. And, you know, Mantis truly embraced how much of a member of the Guardians she is in this one. And she was fantastic, you know. I really liked her. And I feel like they could not have picked a better casting choice for Mantis. Really loved her in this one. And then there's Gamora. Completely new Gamora, but they still managed to make me really like her character. Yeah, I really liked her in this one. Zoe Saldana. Maybe I'm not pronouncing her name right, but she was great in this. And I'm really glad that they just put her in this movie because, like, I feel like her and Star-Lord had some unfinished business that they needed to take care of. And, I mean, she was a member of the original Guardians, and if she's still technically alive, she has to be in the movie. Like, she definitely has to be in the movie. But, yeah, she was great in this, and I loved at the end when she said to Star-Lord, "I bet we were fun." That hits me hard, bro. That hits me so hard. Now we're gonna go on to some of the minor characters. We've got Craiglin and Cosmo. Their main conflict throughout the movie is that Craiglin calls Cosmo a bad dog, and Cosmo wants him to take it back. It's a funny little subplot. I like it. Cosmo's a great character, and I'm glad that he's part of the new Guardians. That's just awesome. And Craiglin seeing a vision of Yondu and inspiring him to be better at the arrow was fantastic. I kind of thought something like that would happen, but I was still shocked nonetheless to see Yondu again, even if it was just for a few seconds. It was great. And also realizing that Yondu was a father to Craiglin just like he was to Peter, which is just a really cool realization. So yeah, those two characters are great. And then you got Groot. I liked him. He wasn't in it for that much, but for what he was in, he was great. And like I said, every single character has a moment to shine. For Groot, he says, "I love you guys," and James Gunn confirmed that was him. That was us finally understanding what Groot's saying, and I thought that was awesome. But yeah, Vin Diesel returns to the character. I love the design for him now. It's just awesome, and I'm glad we didn't get Teen Groot again, because he was okay, but I like this kind of Groot better. And I also really like that him and Star-Lord were just a menace. They were fighting together throughout the entire movie to save their friend's life, and it was awesome. I love how Groot kept the guns inside of his body and then pulled them out for Peter. That was so cool. I really, really loved that. Who else to talk about? Nebula. Nebula was brilliant in this. I can only swear once or twice a video, so I'm not going to say the F word. But yeah, Nebula was great in it, and I think her best moment was when she realized that Rocket was still alive, and she started crying because you got to remember, her and Rocket were the only two Guardians that were left alive in Avengers Endgame, so they probably spent a lot of time together, and I mean, they both have daddy issues, and they've got a lot in common, so when she realized that he was still alive, that was such an emotional scene. And also, she's really starting to fit in with the Guardians, when Gamora was pushing around Star-Lord, and Gamora was like, "We're blood," and then she said he's family too. That was awesome. I really didn't like an Endgame where Nebula was like, "Your choices were him or a tree," but I'm glad that she finally likes Star-Lord now, because I feel in that post-Avengers Endgame bit, she started to, realize that he's going through some tough times. And, yeah, Nebula was great in this movie. I thought Karen Gillan probably did her best job out of them all in this one. And finally, Star-Lord. Oh, my God. He was so great in this movie. Star-Lord might just be my favorite character in the entire MCU. I loved him so much in this film. And at the beginning, where he passes out from getting drunk, and they carry him with the logo coming up, that was so sad. And also, when he's sleeping and he says to Nebula, "I love you, Gamora," oh my God, I was so sad. You're really starting to realize that Peter's lost so much at this point, and it's just so sad. It's so sad. And his dynamic with new Gamora was also great too. He always tries to convince her to be back together with him. Of course, it's not going to work, but I like that he was trying. I support him for trying. And yeah, he was great in this film. And I love at the end where he finally visits his grandpa, and the realization that the grandpa actually knew what Peter looked like. He recognized him right away. That hits hard. It's been 30 years and he knows what Peter looks like. That's insane. But yeah, Peter was great in this movie. Every scene he was in. And I loved how much that scene where Rocket got brought back to life, and him and Peter hugged. That was just that was the part that made me cry. I almost cried at a bunch of scenes, but that was the part that got me. But yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy Vol. 3 is a character-driven masterpiece, and with James Gunn behind the wheel, would you expect anything else? Also, after watching this, I do think the future for the MCU is bright. I'm looking forward to a lot of stuff they're putting out. The Marvels actually doesn't even look that bad. But I think DC's future is looking bright, and I'm really glad that they have James Gunn behind the wheel, because starting a new universe, the DCEU, it's got some good stuff. Shazam, the Suicide Squad, Zack Snyder's Justice League, Wonder Woman. But there are a lot of misses, and it clearly did not know where it was going. So I guess it's kind of a blessing and a curse in a way. So, yeah, and I feel bad for Henry Cavill, but I'm glad they're starting off strong with Superman Legacy. I think that will be good. And once it actually arrives in theaters, I will definitely see it. But yeah, this movie is a masterpiece. And the ending, it's basically they all survived, which I was super surprised by. I thought Star-Lord was going to die when he was floating out in space and his face got all puffed up. But when Adam Warlock saved him, I was cheering because I did not want Star-Lord to die. He was the one out of all of them that if he died, I would have just broken down, And they all survived, which was awesome. Best case scenario, And yeah, and I think James Gunn did a good job because everyone expected Rocket to die, but he didn't. We just saw his backstory. But he basically did at the beginning of the movie, so you kind of get the bullet to the heart right away. But yeah, the ending was great. Seeing Groot and Rocket dance to Dog Days Are Over was great. That ending just, it gives me goosebumps like every single time. I'm literally not even joking. I get uncontrollable goosebumps whenever I watch that scene, and it is just fantastic. I love that scene so much. So, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, is it my favorite Marvel movie of all time? Yes. Yes. Over Endgame, over No Way Home, over Black Panther, over the first and second Guardians, yes. And that opinion may change, but for now, I mean, the second time I watched it, it wasn't like Quantumania, because the first time I saw Quantumania, I was like, oh my god, that was so good. And then the second time I watched it, I was like, okay, this is good, but I kind of want to. I took like 3 bathroom breaks, I remember. I wasn't really feeling it. But the second time I saw Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, I didn't go to the bathroom once. I legit wanted to watch that entire movie again. But yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is fantastic. It beats the hell out of No Way Home. I'm sorry, I love Spider-Man No Way Home. It's fantastic. But if we're bringing up the debate of which is better, this or Spider-Man No Way Home, it's this by far. Don't even, don't even, no. I'm not even gonna, just don't make an argument like that. Anyway, yeah, the ending was great. Everything was great. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is just fantastic. And, yeah, if you guys want to see me do more movie reviews, let me know. This is the first time I've done it since the Multiverse of Madness review. Or wait, no. This is the first time I've done it since my 1-minute review of the Batman, but that one didn't really count. So I'm glad I'm coming back to it. Sorry I didn't do one for Love and Thunder and Black Adam or Black Panther Wakanda Forever. But yeah, at the end of this year, 2023, once all the new Marvel content comes out, I will rank all the MCU movies and shows once again. I think I'm just going to be doing that yearly. That's going to be a thing. But yeah, thanks for watching. I just want to let you guys know that Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is worth it. It's fantastic. It's one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. So, see ya. And also, Guardians of the Galaxy is the best trilogy of all time. 1 is fantastic, 2 is fantastic, and 3 is perfect. Perfect. Down to the last minute details. Everything is great. 10 out of 10 bangers from start to finish. I see a lot of people shitting on Volume 2. Excuse my language. But it is good. It's like how much I think Creed 2 is underrated, Creed 2, like, it should get more credit. But yeah. The Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy is fantastic. And I'm glad they ended on a high note while still setting up possible stuff in the future. So, see you guys. Thanks for watching.